And action. Welcome to another. This is going to be an awesome episode, people. We're not going to hold it back. Awesome episode of the Action Podcast.
This is going to be a scrum-diddly-umptious episode.
Pete, well
for
said.
Sure.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
Episode 84, guys. 84. We've come a long way. And the big movie today will be Wonka. Literally just saw it. Pete saw it yesterday. And we're going to be reviewing that today. That's starring Timothee Chalet. And
Chalamet.
Didn't I just say that?
No, you didn't.
No.
Chalamet.
Chalamet.
Yeah.
Oh, I said Chamelet. Got it. Yeah. Chalamet.
It's not M. Night Chalamet.
Yeah, right. Then we'll have The Iron Claw. Saw early access last night. I'll be talking about that today. And then lastly, Pete saw Migration, which is literally coming out this weekend. So
I was able to see an advanced screening.
Yeah, guys. So we're gonna be ahead of the game on this podcast. So you're gonna be able to know what should I see, what should I not see heading into this weekend. Congrats on that. We did our job, people. So what more could you ask for?
It's so for you.
With that, Pete, we're gonna hop right into the big movie of the week, which is Wonka.
Right.
Lot of let me just preface this before you get into it.
Go ahead.
A lot of when you deal with a property like this, you deal with, is it better than the original? Is this even better than the last one? It's never going to be judged by itself. It's always going to be judged in comparison to something. And that's what this movie's always going to struggle with. And then now we have Wonka. And Paul King directed this. It's got a 7.4 on IMDb, which is pretty solid. I know it's
solid. I would jack that up a couple more points on that one.
Yeah. Well, we'll get in yours. It's got a 68 Metascore right now, and then I'll give you a quick box office, and then Pete, you're gonna go into what you got to say, because we have worldwide numbers. Worldwide, it's already made $43 million.
Wow.
That was
the budget.
I don't have the budget. It doesn't say. Mm-hmm. But Pete, Wonka, what do you got?
Yeah, Wonka. I mean, I saw trailers and posters for this movie, and I kept saying over and over, and I think I said it to everyone that would actually listen to me talk. How many iterations can we do of this property? Like, do we really need another Wonka? And this is a prequel, by the way. If you
can I answer that question before we even move
on?
I would say we still have a few of them. Because I think they've created such a beautiful universe that.
Or you're talking about this one specifically?
No, I'm saying in general. So I'm trying to answer your question as an executive, as a filmmaker.
Well, that's what Netflix did, right? By buying and purchasing the entire catalog of Roald Dahl. I mean, that's their big plan. Their big plan is to roll out.
We can explore this world more.
They can certainly explore the world of Roald Dahl, but in terms of Willy Wonka, growing up, Willy Wonka was something that was very cherished because of Gene Wilder's performance, the music, the factory, and the Oompa Loompas. The second half of that movie, it was a box office disaster.
Key point, though, the second half of that movie. I want our audience note that moment. Keep going.
It's always the second half of the movie that's the best. But with Willy Wonka, it's as a kid, you don't understand what storytelling is, and you don't really appreciate what's happening at the beginning of Willy Wonka. You just want to get to the factory. You want to get going. You want to get in there, and that's where we see Gene Wilder come in as Willy Wonka, and he is just so charming as a performer and as a Willy Wonka character. So, fast forward, then you've got Johnny Depp, and it's just, I love Johnny Depp, but it was just a awful mess. I know that they tried to go.
I wouldn't go awful, but
but they tried to go more towards like the actual book. They tried to be more thing, but it was too bizarre. And Willy Wonka himself, Johnny Depp's portrayal there was nothing charming about it. It was
I
just
agree with that. I agree
it
with
was
that.
just bizarre, and so it turned a lot of people off. And so now,
But let me add real quick to that. I also think what that movie made the biggest mistake was they tried to fully distance themselves from the original. And again, like we just kind of already talked about with the original is so beloved. So even if like you were to tackle on a Wizard of Oz property, like if you ignore the original, I think you're just ignoring history. Like if ever someone wanted to do a Godfather movie or
you're
anything
almost shooting yourself in the foot in a
right, but
way.
yeah, just don't you can't ignore the original. So I think that's the mistake the second one made, the Tim Burton version.
Right. And so then, you know, Timothy Chalamet is somebody that is up and coming, and he's a big deal. He's a heartthrob. He's supposed to be like the next
Yeah.
big actor in Hollywood right now. And I saw Dune, and I need to rewatch it because I really wasn't blown away by the original Dune, but I know that the sequel's coming up. So I'm gonna have to see it eventually. But I'm really now curious about him because the great thing about
He was
Wong,
solid. He was solid in it. It's just I think the Dune movie, the original is just there's so much setup that
yeah,
you
I'm more
just
curious about his performance
he was
than
good. He was
anything.
good. I was into him. He was good.
So in this movie, he is as charming as Gene Wilder was in the original. Like he is somebody that you're with him. You're with Wonka. So Wonka comes to London, I guess it's London. They start the movie,
We assume it's London.
we assume it's London.
Yeah, it never
They
said.
start the movie with Pure Imagination as the music, which is like the iconic song
Yeah.
outside of the Candyman from the original. So they're already saying, look, this is our story, but we're gonna give homage throughout this thing. He
Yeah.
immediately he sticks his cane in the ground and it just sticks there, just like Wonka. He flips his last coin and he loses his last dollar and it falls into a gutter, which is what you would assume that Charlie Bucket finds in the future, right? Like there's just so many great.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think about that? Oh, so he flips
No,
that
I
and
wanted to watch the original before and I fell asleep,
and
but
it falls in the gutter and it's just sitting there,
no,
and
that's
that's where
smart. That's
that's
smart.
where Charlie Bucket finds the. Oh my gosh. And so, I mean, he's really,
Man, that's
really
really good. That even adds more. Okay, keep going.
he's really charming. And the story is great. And he wants to establish himself as a chocolatier. However, there's, Slugworth and there's two other groups. They're like this chocolate cartel.
Yeah, I like that. I like how
It's
they added
it's
that.
funny. It's
Yeah,
cool. And
the
so the main
chocolate
part
cartel.
of the story takes place, and he signs this sort of contract that he didn't really know what he was signing, and he becomes sort of enslaved at like a hotel or whatever. And so he has to kind of try to escape.
But they make it to the filmmaker's credit, they make it very obvious this contract's a bad contract. Like the
Right,
pages are hidden, which you can clearly see. The people are all nefarious. Like
right.
it's very clear, and so I
It's
did like that
but
element
it's
of.
almost like the contract that Wonka has, that they have, how that's like big letters, but then it's like really tiny, tiny, little tiny letters underneath.
Another good point, Pete. I didn't think about that.
I'm telling you, this movie is peppered with like
No, it really
homages
is. It really is.
throughout. So he signs this extravagant contract, which he makes other people sign in the future because he doesn't trust anybody at this point, right?
Yeah.
But this is still when Wonka is at his most trusting. He wants to see the best and do the best in life, and so you really do feel that sort of passion that he has. And then you throw in Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa, which is fantastic. I know that there's some backlash from the smaller communities about why was Hugh Grant cast in this role. Listen, he's brilliant. What do you want me to say?
Yeah,
He's
no, I bet
brilliant in this role.
brilliant.
Um,
He's perfect.
yeah, and so at the very end, it escalates, and he becomes who we all know and love. But the journey itself is actually really well done. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant movie. It's not just Chalamet and Hugh Grant. Mr. Bean is in it.
Oh yeah,
Olivia Colman
Keegan
is in it.
Michael-Key.
She's like an Oscar winner. She's amazing. Keegan Michael-Key is in it, and he's hilarious.
I love what they
Um,
did with him. I love what they did with his character. That was a sneaky, subtle.
but even the last song, like the ending of the movie, I'll be honest, I cried. I cried at the end during the Pure Imagination, right before the Pure Imagination, and it
Yes, I got emotional myself.
it's just a brilliant movie. It's not a 7.4 for me. This movie's an 8. Easy.
I agree. I agree. Definitely
It's so
higher.
good. Go see this movie. If you loved the original, you are going to absolutely adore this movie. Please.
Yeah, and I'll add P. I mean, you pretty much did a great job of everything else. I'm just going to add on a bigger scale, right?
Okay.
When you talk about movies in the last, let's just say 25 years, because we're in 2023. So we're talking about musicals since 2000. And I don't really know much before then. Even we can even go musicals in the last 30 years since 1980.
Right.
You're talking, let's just throw them out here, right? You're talking Annie, right? Annie
Yeah.
was in the 1980s.
West Side Story,
No,
the
West Side
new
Story
one,
was the 60s, dude.
the new one.
Oh, the new one. Yeah, yeah, the new one. You're talking La La Land, you're talking Chicago,
Right. Right.
you're talking, I don't know, Evita, maybe. I mean, I don't know anybody that really loves
Yeah.
it. Um, think about
Yeah.
another pure musical. Because by the way, audience, this is a pure musical. This is no other genre but a pure musical.
This
So
was a musical for sure. And the songs were great.
songs were great. So besides Disney animation films, when you're talking pure live action musicals,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to add another one, go ahead. But Pete, Annie, Chicago, La La Land,
Annie and Willy Wonka, those have got to be numbers 1 and 2 in terms of
and then the original Willy
relatability,
Wonka, right?
and people know those songs. Who doesn't know the Candyman? Who
This
can
is the
make a sunrise? Like
But my
everyone
my
jump
point is
right into.
the songs are just as good as this one.
If you
Obviously, you
start
always
singing
need to watch
Candyman,
it
people
more.
jump from another room and go, sprinkle it with Glee. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
jump
yeah.
out of nowhere. Like people
I
know those songs.
I think this movie has that staying power
I'm
where,
with you.
especially like who owns the property? WB, so it's gonna be on HBO Max. All right, so people are gonna have to watch it over and over again on HBO Max. But I think musically, this movie has the chops. I think it's gonna hold up
It's so good.
over time, and the songs are catchy, dude. Like even right away, I'm just like, I was kind of bobbing my head. I'm like, okay, like the songs are really good. Like,
The little girl that plays Noodles, and there's songs about noodles in the
yeah,
movie, and she's real good. Like she's so good.
yeah,
And
she was
her,
solid.
when she
But
meets,
Hugh Grant crushed it too. Again, like they didn't shy
uh,
away from the original
uh,
Oompa Loompa,
no,
and then they kind of poke fun of it. They're just like, this is how we talk, and we always do it in song, and
yeah,
we never stop
dude,
mid song.
were you dying? Were you dying when he was like, "Look, you're on the ship. I got to talk to you. Well, you don't want to answer me. All right, I'm gonna have a sleep." And he was like,
Yeah.
"Eh," and then he's like, "Wait, what did you say?"
It was
No,
very Austin Power. Yeah,
go
it
ahead.
was very Austin Powersy
Oh, it's so funny. It's
with
so
like
good.
the 8 point turn. Like, yeah,
It's so funny, man.
yeah.
It's such a good movie. It's so
Gonna be
good.
honest, I think if I really had one complaint, I wanted more of Hugh Grant. I still think there's a way that they could have made the story more Oompa Loompa-y. I have a couple ideas. I haven't, I literally just watched it, so I need to kind of like fully think it out.
Right. Now,
I felt they could have made the Oompa Loompas more embedding because like that's what the original I think did was like the Oompa Loompas are embedded to them. They're not embedded to them by the end of this movie. I think there was a way to do it. I need to think more
I,
about it.
I would argue that in this particular case, this movie itself, like there was so much happening. And this is why I appreciated not seeing the Oompa Loompas that much, and that he was introduced and then he came back when he was supposed to come back.
No, I
Because
agree.
in the history of Willy Wonka, he's not supposed to know who the Oompa Loompas are. And it's not until later on that he recruits them to be workers in his factory, right? So it's actually kind of fitting, and I'm actually happy that they didn't inundate us with Oompa Loompas because I think that would have taken away
No,
from the actual story that they
I
told,
agree.
which was really well done.
Every
I think
single
that was
time in
really
the
smart.
film, every single time in the film, like I'm saying, like I just felt like I needed
It
Oompa
was
Loompa
smart.
right now. That's when they brought it in. And I, again, like to your point, I thought they really balanced it well. Of it was not Oompa Loompa centric,
Right.
but they
And they
made
didn't use it as a shtick.
uh, they
It
made you
wasn't like
crave
just some thing,
they made
right?
you crave it though. You're just like, dude, I need to see Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I did think they did a good job balancing. Again, overall, guys, I would even go as
No.
9. I mean, I don't know what else
Dude,
you
I didn't
want
even
from this
talk
film.
about Oppenheimer like this. You know what I mean? Like Oppenheimer didn't even
Wow.
hit me at my core the way this movie did. You
I
know what I mean?
My comp for this is just Barbie. And the only reason why I say Barbie is because you walk out of this movie just like happy
Mm.
and you're just like, man, that was a good film. Like it just worked.
Now you feel good.
You feel good. It's a property that you thought just executed everything well. You're not like, I wish they would have done this. I wish they would have done that. Like you don't have these negative feelings. You're just able to watch this movie and leave satisfied and
Yeah.
then still wanting more. Like I would want to see another one with this group again. Like what's next? I'm open to that. And
What
same
it,
thing with Barbie, same as like I'm good.
yeah. But what this movie was at its core was it was respectful to the original and
100%.
yet was absolutely original at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was brilliant.
Yeah. And again, since 2000, I would put it toe to toe with La La Land in terms of best musical of the 2000s. And honestly, I might even like it more. Um,
It's
I
so good.
like I I'll know in like a year or two if that ends up being the case. But I mean, I already want to see it again.
I'm totally.
La La
I
Land, I watched a
see
lot.
it
So
like
let
10
me be
times.
very fair to La La Land. I watched La La Land a lot,
Right.
and I've seen La La Land at
You saw
least.
it a lot.
Yeah, I've watched it like 5 times, but there's some
Right.
scenes where I'm just like, it kind of drags, whatever. But I feel like this film,
I'm gonna watch it like forever. I
I'm
can't wait
gonna
till it
watch
shows
it
at
at
my
least.
kids.
I
I
might
can't wait.
watch it 5 times in the theater run, at
Yeah.
least. Like I have the Top Gun Maverick feeling with this movie, where it's just like I feel so good when I go to watch it and walk out of it, and it's
How
just like
great is Timothee Chalamet? I mean, he's so good
he's good.
as Wonka. How
He
do you
doesn't
do that character?
nitpicky-ish,
Go
pitnicking, whatever
ahead.
you want to call it. M- I wanted him a little bit more sarcastic, just like
Yeah.
Gene Wilder. Like that's what I loved about the Wonka character, and he did it in the very beginning, and then he
Right.
didn't kind of continue it. I, I
Right.
I thought he did a great job, so I'm not nothing taken.
Right.
I
But you
just
could,
wanted more sarcasm from him
sure.
because
You could
that's the
argue,
Wonka character.
yeah, you could argue that, he hadn't yet been, stomped on by life and didn't actually have that
Yeah, no,
sarcasm
I don't
yet.
know, no. To me, 'cause look at us, dude. We're sarcastic as hell all the time.
Ugh,
It
all
doesn't
day.
matter about whether you're stomped on life. It's to me, a sarcasm is a character trait. And again, he
Yeah.
at the beginning, and it just
Except watch it again. I think I agree with you, but I think if we watched it a second time, we would see more sarcasm. But let's try. Let's go see it again. I think that he has moments where he is sarcastic.
I wanted him and Hugh Grant to go at it more with
Yeah, but
sarcasm.
there's not enough
Hugh
Oompa
Grant
Loompas
brought
for
it.
him to go back and forth.
No, but that's like I think they could have. Like I said, he I just think they chose not to go that route.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't necessary, but I felt like
Probably wasn't enough time. Wasn't enough screen
maybe
time.
because I honestly what I did love this movie
Okay.
was 2 hours, and good job. Like this movie needed to be 2 hours
Yeah.
max,
Yeah.
and they did a good job with that. No, I just think again, like there's this that like the scene you were talking about with Hugh Grant with the up and down stuff. I just felt you could add 12 seconds of more sarcasm from Timothée Chalamet and Chalamet. Chalamet, sorry, I'm not gonna get it right. Um, I just felt they could have added again. I'm talking literally throw a line in here and there to keep that sarcasm. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nitpicking. as hell.
Yeah,
Oh, he did a great job.
we could easily nitpick this movie, but I mean, if
Well,
I
you
I
only nitpick it because of the original.
I gave him zero chance to pull this off, and he crushed this performance.
I had high hopes for him.
Did you? I had zero.
The
I
trailer
was
the
like,
trailer looked great. He looked great in the trailer. I was
every trailers are made to make you think something's going to be good, and it's a piece of shit. So I never
sure.
trust trailers.
I get that, but I meant like just buying into him,
Right.
bought into him because of the trailer and Hugh Grant.
I'm a fan.
I was already like I already figured this movie could work, if that makes sense.
Chalamet's my dude right now. Like, he's my dude
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
no. I
After
bright
this movie, Timothy Chalamet, I'm all on board
I
with
don't
that.
want to say bright future because he's already successful.
Crushing life.
He can be this generation's guy though. Like he
He,
can be
he's,
Johnny Depp. He can be. I do agree with that.
he could be
Uh,
something
and
really
then,
extraordinary.
and then just to close the loop, Wonka budget 125 million. It says here. That's just a Google search, guys. So don't quote me on that. But if it's 125, by the way, I think it's a good budget. It made 43 worldwide opening weekend. It's gonna make, dude. If it doesn't make 50,
This movie has legs.
no, no,
This
no, yeah,
movie's gonna
definitely
make
has legs.
some
But if it
money.
doesn't make 50 domestic in its first weekend, I'd be highly surprised. It should make its budget the first weekend.
This
That's
has
my
to be making.
prediction. But I agree with you. I think it's gonna have legs, and I think it's gonna have a couple. It should do
People,
well.
this might be a multiple view for people. I mean, we might see some big numbers later on after like 2 weeks.
This should make a minimum of 300 million, which again, off of 125, you're double plus,
People were smart.
including marketing. This movie should do well. I'm gonna guess 300 million minimum. By the way, I think it can make 500.
Go see it.
Just how good it
So
is. I'm playing it super safe. I'm saying minimum they're walking away with 300. So
it's amazing.
good job on Wonka. Let's move on to our second movie, Pete, which is The Iron Claw. Now,
Right?
this is based off of a true story. This is starring Zac Efron. This is directed by Sean Durkin, who also wrote this. And this is based off of so when you grew up in the 1980s, right? The obviously the main wrestling event is WWF. Right now it's WWE, but back then it was WWF. That was the major leagues. However, there was other successful leagues, we'll just call them, including the NWA, and then there's just other smaller ones that would literally travel around. I didn't actually was aware of how popular wrestling was back in this
Oh
time,
yeah.
but
Like,
yeah,
back in the day, they would just travel around and people would go in droves to go
yes,
watch these performances. It's crazy.
yeah. So this is the story about the Von Erich family and basically like how they took wrestling by storm and how they ultimately all try to compete to win the world championship, all that good stuff. So this is a
Right.
true story. This had where's my ranking here? Does this not have a ranking yet? Oh, because it's not released yet. So this is not ranked. So I saw an early preview of
Give us
this.
your ranking.
Um, all I'm gonna give this a 7.
Nice.
Um, I
That's
could
good.
I could see people giving this an 8, maybe as low as a 6, but I enjoyed this movie a lot. I think this movie has a lot of heart. There's definitely the full motion of movies in this.
Right.
Um, if I want to classify this as a sports movie, this is definitely one of the better sports movies in the last 10 years. Um, there's a lot to like about this movie. And the more I've done research, I've done more research after this movie than I saw it because I don't like typically to kind of fill my head with stuff before I watch a
Right.
movie.
Right.
Um, there's a couple things I wish they almost took a different angle on now that I've done some more research on this. But overall, man, I mean, this is a movie about family. This is a movie about hardship. This is a movie about hope. This is a movie like a lot of the stuff you love about films, this movie has. And if you like that stuff, if you like 80s wrestling history, like if you like WWF and all that stuff, like you have to see this movie. This is like, The Godfather. And I mean, I was trying to think about this the other night. We talked about it after the movie. There's no, besides the wrestler, right? Which is not arguably based off a true story. Like this is the really only true historical type of film, fictional slash non-fictional, that is, takes place in this world. So,
Right, outside of like a documentary, maybe
right.
like a 30 for 30, yeah.
And what's the great series on Vice? It's Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
If you haven't like watched that stuff, if you really want to get into this stuff, I highly recommend that. But again, this Zac Efron, first of all, Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, you may know from like Shameless. He's Zip, I believe his name is in that show. They put on massive weight to be in this film.
Dude, I saw Zac Efron 2 weeks ago in Beverly Hills. He was jacked. Like he was still jacked. I know he
Yeah,
probably
dude,
shot this. He probably
so
shot this like a year ago, but he was still jacked.
at least a year ago, yeah. Uh,
Dude
he,
is
he put
jacked.
on at least 40 pounds. I think he put on like 80 pounds. To be honest, like if I looked at him
Yeah,
at Baywatch,
he's
which
he's jacked.
Baywatch, by the way, Baywatch, he's jacked, but he's trim
No,
jacked.
he's yeah, but he's trim. This is different jacked.
No, he's jacked. Like his
Yeah,
face square. Uh, I don't
double
want
jack.
I don't want to pretend to think
I
of.
almost didn't recognize him. I'm like, what? Is
Oh
that
no,
Zac
he's not
Efron?
recognizing. No,
He was just like
yeah,
ground.
he's too. The character himself, like the character he's trying to play, is like 210, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And I think Zac Efron, like on his best day,
On
is
his
probably
best
like 75,
175, maybe.
maybe. Yeah, maybe 165. Baywatch, yeah. Again, just I don't know. I've never seen
Baywatch,
him.
he might have even been like 165 because he just
But
cut
yeah,
so
yeah.
much, but he was ripped, right?
'Cause I don't think he's short. I think he's like 5'11",
No,
6
no,
foot.
no. He's my height, which is like 5'11", 6 foot,
I literally just said that. I literally just said that.
I would literally just repeated it.
Yeah, you did. So if he's 6 foot, yeah, he's probably in Baywatch, he's probably 165 because he's super lean.
Yeah.
In this film, he's over 200. Like, no, there's no way he's not. If not, he's the actual weight of the guy, which is like 210.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, let me just jump to it. The best actor category this year is going to be thick. I hope he gets nominated. I don't know if he will. It's
Mm.
just because it's such a good race. I mean, we
Mm.
got what? Cillian Murphy, we got Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, yeah. You think it's that good, the performance?
I mean, you always have to add in the work you have to put into the acting, right? Like
Wow.
I do think that's a big part of it, right? Like think of Brendan Fraser, right? He put in all that weight to be the whale, right? And he
Yeah.
did he win it last year?
Yeah, he won it. Yeah. He
Yeah, he
won
won
the
it, right?
Academy Award.
So like to me it's just the same, but it's almost harder because it's
Yeah.
easy to be fat. But to be jacked, like to put on 60 pounds of muscle. Now, obviously, are there ways to do it? Not necessarily naturally. There are, and I'm not going to jump to conclusions on whether he did this all naturally or not. I honestly would not be surprised if he did it all naturally because I do think he's got that kind of work ethic. But
Right.
even if he didn't, it doesn't matter. Like to me, it's the same thing as getting fat for a role or playing, like Leonardo DiCaprio with Arnie, right? Like
Yeah.
it's those
No, he
type of
didn't.
roles
He
that you can
definitely didn't get a
out.
Golden Globe.
Yeah, and it might just be too quick, but it's a great role. I think he crushes the role. He is exactly what you wanted from this role, if not
Right.
more. And
But this might be his performance right before his nominated performance. I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
like Denzel Washington, right?
Right. Like they do something that just crushes, they don't get the acknowledgement, but then all of a sudden,
Like what was the Denzel Washington role before Training Day, where he should have won it, and then
the one with the football?
no, the one I thought he should got nominated for was
John
John
Q.
Q. John Q. He got no nomination for that.
Yeah, John
He
Q was
did Training
great.
Day the next year. I thought he was so excellent in John Q. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
most of I
This
cried.
might be his stepping stool to,
Yeah.
his big nomination next year. Who knows? I'm excited to see it. I love that you are talking about him and his performance as so glowingly.
Jeremy Allen White, by the way, I mean, he's a known actor. I don't think his name like people know his face. I don't think people know his name yet. I feel like this guy should be a star, and I
Right,
think he's one of these upcoming guys that is going to be brilliant. He's been in great everything I've seen him in,
right.
and I just think he needs bigger projects like this. Like, trust me, again, I know his agent's working on it.
Yeah,
I'm not questioning any of that
they
stuff.
got it.
Yeah, they got it. This guy's got a bright future. Uh, Maura Tierney's in this, solid, and the other guy, the dad, Holt McCallany, I believe is how you pronounce it. You've seen him in a lot of different stuff. He's always a solid character actor, but he was excellent as the father. But here's my review's not all glowy. I felt this film had so much potential. This could have been the Rocky, right?
Mm.
I felt
Of wrestling.
this
Yeah.
could have been the Rocky of wrestling. I felt the music could have been better. Now, not the soundtrack. The soundtrack I thought was excellent. A lot of great classic music. One of the brothers is into music, and his
Oh.
association music's great. So the soundtrack I think is solid, but like
Mm.
the score, I feel like there's a lot of moments in this film where the score really could have amplified some of the scenes, and I felt the score just could have gone another notch or two up. And that's my biggest critique. And again, I'm going to use other comps. You guys can hate this review or not, but I use Rudy, which is a film that is 1000% better because of its score.
Yeah, it's
And then Rocky itself, right? Rocky is Rocky because of the score. And
right
I think when you're dealing with emotional films,
in the
especially
heart.
a roller coaster of emotions, the score helps you metabolize all these different emotions. And I just felt the score could have, like, this is where you spend a little extra money and get Alexander Desplat, Michael and I'm butchering all these names. Michael Giancharo. I know obviously John Williams is pretty much retired. He's only doing Star Wars pretty much at this point. Uh,
Right.
Max Richter, even those to me, those are my three guys. Uh, Hans Zimmer, he could do it, but he doesn't really do these type of films anymore. Um, Lauren Balfe
Yeah.
also has like good emotional things, but he's more action. But if I'm doing pure drama, like those are my three guys. And I feel like spend your money. If it's an extra million, spend it because they will make this film into Rocky with their score, just like Bill Conti did. Spend the money on the score. I always feel people never spend enough money on score and they just it's fine. Like let's just the acting take care of it. And it's like, no, dude,
Right.
we're watching a film and let that music
Really
help.
does build into exactly what your actors are doing. And in fact, it usually enhances. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, like my best comp for like my best comp for a movie that the score like took me to another place is Arrival. Like that opening scene where
So good.
you're just getting to know everything, but
Yeah.
then Max Richter has this score and it's so powerful and you're just like you're just entranced and you really don't know why, but it's because the score is so beautiful. And then all of a sudden you're in it, and then Arrival, just the rest of the story takes place. And honestly, like the rest of the score is like whatever, but that
It
initial
set a tone.
Yeah, the original Max Richter score was so perfect and so powerful that it set the tone for the rest of the movie. And yeah, so that's my take on that movie. Check it out. Fully released December 22nd. So you'll have time to check it out. It comes out in basically a week. So yeah,
Yeah, and Holt McCallany that you mentioned, you know this guy.
know
He's
this
been
guy.
everything. He's been in everything, and you've loved him or hated him. in everything that he does because he's that good.
Yeah.
All right, good. Yay. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. No, it's good, man. Again, Ric Flair's in this too. Like, if you're an 80s wrestling fan, like I said, man, there's a lot of, if you know the history, like my
The
buddy Rick,
Hogan drop in
no,
that movie?
Hogan's not going to be in this,
Okay.
but there is a mention of the Ultimate Warrior, I believe, in this.
No kidding.
Ric Flair obviously is in a big role because Ric Flair actually fought Kevin Van Erich. And then there's some other names that again, if you kind of know wrestling,
Bam Bam Bigelow.
no, Baby Bit's not. Apparently King Bundy was in this league though. Like it
Oh, Rick
honestly, like that would have been again another note.
Dragon. What's his
Apparently,
name?
apparently this guy trained with like Jimmy Fly Snuka.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like throw a small scene with Jimmy Fly Snuka.
Yeah,
That
let's
was
get some Snuka.
another little like throw a name out there. Like you know how like I guess Big Short for lack of a better film.
Right.
Like where you name everybody that you see. I would just be name dropping people because it would have added significance to like to how big this actually league was and who this league like um promoted,
Mm,
like a better word. So
right.
yeah, check it out. Ultimately, I think it's a
Like
solid
the
movie.
ABA before it joined with the NBA.
Yes, yes, yes. So again, if you're the ABA, who are the guys you want to announce? Julius Irving. Uh,
Julius Irving, like,
yeah, I don't know
arguably
about
one of the
that.
best ever.
Yeah, but again, you just want to these names that people know, but like, oh, I didn't know they were part of ABA. You just want to announce that they
Right.
are. So many King Kong Bundy again was a guy part of this league. Yeah, Ric Flair, but Ric Flair they do, but yeah. Anyways, so moving on. Our last film we're going to talk about is Migration. This is the
Yes.
Illumination film by Universal Studios and Peacock. Pete, what do you got?
This got a 7-1. And I agree. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I will just say one thing. Let me tell you what it's about first. This is a family of ducks trying to convince their overprotective father to go on the vacation of a lifetime, which is basically flying south for the winter, and doing a migration. Um, this movie does
Good premise.
what yeah, this movie does what Disney movies have not been doing. This movie has heart. This movie has themes. It has great character development, and everything that you learn about the character at the beginning pays off at the end. We got
And good
Elizabeth,
voices too, by the way.
we've got Elizabeth Banks. We got Danny DeVito. We've got Keegan Michael-Key again, another Keegan Michael-Key sighting. We got Awkwafina who plays this pigeon, and she talks in this like she sounds like a dude. Like I thought it was a guy cast in the, but she
No, I knew right away from the trailer it's Aquafina because
it was
she has a very unique
Awkwafina. You know,
voice.
it's like she did so well. This movie is so sweet and it's well done.
Isabela Merced too. She was in
Yeah,
Sicario too.
yep. She did great. And
Kumail
so
Nanjiani.
they basically go on this journey and they wind up in New York City. They and it's a mess because they've never seen such chaos. They wind up in this restaurant. There's a Jamaican bird who's trapped, who's played by Keegan Michael-Key, because their ultimate goal is to go to Jamaica. And so that's how they tie it all in. And then they have to escape. And I'll let you guys go and see whether your family's going to love this film. You are going to love this film because again, it's got heart and it's everything that I've been waiting for Disney to put out. But Illumination is doing it, and they do it every time with Gru and the Minions. And now they've continued with Migration. So well done.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, so that's gonna we got those three reviews, guys. Those are all literally all coming out this weekend.
Right.
Iron Claw again will come out next weekend. So we're there's early advanced screening here for us.
See
We're
these
just
three films.
we're trying to give you the heads up, guys. We're doing our best. So check these movies out. You got good reviews on all three of these. So the Christmas season is going to be solid. Next week, which you can even add more to this craziness. And again, when we watch these, we're also going to tell you the order of which you should watch these. So, Pete, out of the three we just saw, we're both probably on the same assumption. Wonka number one,
Yep.
I- I'm just gonna go Iron Claw number 2, Migration number 3, unless you have kids, then maybe Migration number
Now,
2.
if you've got a family, Migration is going to be
Yeah,
easy number two because you can even see Wonka with your kids. So you got two family films that you
yeah.
could see
I'm gonna
right
go
now.
Wonka if you have a family. If you have no family, go Iron Claw. But I would
Yep.
still say Wonka if you like the original. So yeah. So that's and then next week we've got Ferrari. That's the Michael Mann film with Adam Driver
Driver, right?
as Ferrari. Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, directed by James Wan, who directed the original. That's coming out, the big sequel. That's actually got decent reviews. I think it's going to be polarizing film, so I think some people are going to hate it, some people are going to like it. We got Boys in the Boat. That's the new George Clooney film coming out. We have, which I can't read my writing. I have Anything But You. I think Sydney Sweeney is that from Euphoria. We have the Jeez, I wrote so bad. Family Plan,
Family
which
Plan.
is with Mark Wahlberg. That's out on Apple TV Plus. That's actually coming
Yeah.
out today when you watch this. So by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be out today.
A
And
movie called Zone of Interest, which is getting some Golden Globe nominations, is getting released pretty soon as well. So keep an eye out for that one. That one's supposed to be intense.
nice. And then let me see if I can. Oh, The Color Purple. Oh, that's what that one is. Okay.
Yeah.
Color Purple. And that's a based off the beloved classic. Oh, and Memory. That's what that other one is. And
Hmm.
Memory is starring Jessica Chastain and Peter Skarsgård. It's a film festival darling. So if you again possible nominees,
They're both great.
yeah, possible nominees and all that. So if you're into more Archie type films, that could be the film
So
for
many
you.
good
So
films.
that we got those 7 films essentially. Now, again, action podcast notification. All these release dates, guys, are all over the place. We don't know what we're actually going to be able to see versus not.
Right.
Because we live in LA, sometimes they come out on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, but to the masses, they can only come out on Friday.
Hmm.
So we'll do our best. It's just giving you a heads up on what we expect to see, and then we'll let you know when the podcast comes out what actually we reviewed. So these are all coming out within the next 2 weeks for sure.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. We're gonna do our part, guys. Help you out, figure out what to watch. So thank you for watching. Please make sure you comment, subscribe, and share. Again, if you haven't checked out our other podcasts, we have a new podcast that's Paul's Old Time Movie Classics. Basically, I pick a streaming movie that's out that's pre 1980. That if you're gonna watch something kind of old that you haven't seen before, that's kind of the goal of that movie. Our first episode was The Great Waldo Pepper. And then this week we're watching we're watching Marathon Man starring Dustin Hoffman, a great film from the 70s. And then we have another podcast just called Movie News. We're gonna keep you updated on all the newest being all the newest of news that comes out with movies, to include our next episode. We'll be talking about Pete. What did we learn today that just came out?
What?
What just came out today?
Um,
We shared it on text message with Jake.
oh,
Jeez, way to be
dude, I mean, you totally threw me for a loop.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, the new Beverly Hills Cop. Yes.
There's gonna be a new Beverly Hills Cop. Now we already knew there was gonna be one, but the trailer dropped. The teaser looked amazing, so we're gonna be talking about that
Looks funny.
in our next movie news coming out next week. So again, stay tuned for that, guys. We got more news. We're gonna keep putting out more and more content, guys. We appreciate your love and support. Thank you so much. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.